Hello and welcome to the Love of the Star podcast for Thursday, June 25th. Now 1 month away from Oxnard, California and Dallas Cowboys training camp. We are presented by the On-Time Experts as always, and it's great to have you in the Love of the Star podcast. I'm Eric Chiafalo of the G-Bag Nation, weekdays 2 to 7 on 105.3 The Fan, your home of the Cowboys, and of course alongside the Super Bowl champion Bryan Broaddus, live from the Crown Global Media Studios. Broaddus, how we doing?
Doing excellent, Eric. Thank you. You mentioned 1 month away, getting ready to celebrate the 4th of July as we talk about. And then after that, then we start to get ready for football for real. So, yeah, really exciting time. It's amazing how it seems like you have a season, you work on a draft, you think you have a little off time, and you really don't have a lot of off time. But, man, that's the cool thing about football. It's kind of become a year-round job, and man, I look forward to getting out to Oxnard and getting this thing going.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I'm fired up, and I feel like the off season has gone by a little bit faster than I don't know, maybe than what I'm used to or what. But I'm like, wow, it's crazy. I can't believe we're already just a few weeks out here from Oxnard. And I'll tell you something. My guy, Caleb Downs here, our guy, everyone's guy, our beloved Caleb Downs. You see him doing his Down to Business podcast with his brother. And their latest episode, they're in a weight room, and you can just see all of Caleb Downs just sitting there. Oh my God. He's built like a freaking a brick S house, bro. Like from top to bottom, this dude looks ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, and that's the thing when I had the opportunity to go out to the OTA minicamp practices and stuff. And this is what kind of surprised me. And I know when you and I were doing our shows, and I was doing Krusty's Corner and observations and stuff like that, I even commented, and I appreciate you bringing this up, because I even commented about different body type, and as a former scout, that's the great thing about the OTAs and the mini camps. When you start to see the new players, you have an idea of the body types of the players from year to year that you're kind of accustomed to. But then when you see the new players, I always thought on film that Caleb Downs was more of and the scouting term is a linear, an up and down player, more of a long, kind of a rangy kind of a player. And I was watching him on film, and I thought, yeah, he's that kind of guy. He's kind of got some link to him. I'm kind of looking at him that way. But you're right. When you see him in person, it's like, whoa, wait a minute now. This guy is like a square built, very powerful looking lower upper body guy. You see now why he likes to be involved with contact.
Yeah.
You see why he likes the physicality part of the game. So yeah, that was, to me, if you want to talk about an OTA minicamp surprise, is I visioned him differently on tape than what I saw in person. And, you do see the quick feet, and you do hear the communication, and, things that we've talked about as, when we have evaluated the player to this point. But the body type was not what I expected when I first saw him, out there on the practice fields there at the Star.
Yeah, he's stout, man. He's stout.
He is very stout. Yeah.
As Stephen Jones would say, he's cocky built. Just very, very, very impressive. Strong, and he's going to be playing in the box. You're going to need him in the run game. Like, it all makes a ton of sense, but it just jumped off the screen when you go look at the Down to Business podcast of him sitting in the weight room, and you're just like, oh my gosh, did you just work out? What's the deal here? But yeah, that's going to be hugely important for him in all the different, the variety of ways that Christian Parker is going to be using them. I can't wait to watch him.
Let me ask you this question then, Eric. What role do you think he's going to be the absolute best at? And give me the role that he might struggle at.
Okay. I think.
And this is just observations. This is not trying to hate on a guy or blow him up or whatever like that. I know people sometimes get that a little twisted when you say, oh, well, I feel like he needs to do this. And they feel like that you hate the guy. I'm just asking you in a way of, I'm just curious of what do you think is, from all the things that you've seen and heard, the things he's going to be the absolute best at, maybe the one thing, and the thing that it might be a little bit of struggle until he gets a little bit more experience at it.
Well, and I would say this on the front end, from what you saw him at Alabama with Nick Saban and what you saw from him at Ohio State, you've seen him do and excel in basically every way. I mean,
right.
The thing I'm gonna go to here is probably in terms of like what you want to be careful with is like putting him in man coverage, a shifty slot wide receiver, something like that. But you saw him in terms of like tight ends, Brock Bowers at when he's at Alabama and Bowers was at Georgia, and Bowers is freaking all world, has been since the moment we were introduced to him at Georgia, and he was able to shut him down pretty nicely in a lot of man coverage there at Alabama. And so, you know, I think that he's got that ability, but the shifty slot receivers, you know, when you think of a nickel corner, you know, but again, I don't think Christian Parker is going to be putting him in positions to be exposed. So, but that would be one of the areas where you're like, okay, he's a nickel player. Does that mean he's going to have to go man to man on some of these shifty slot receivers? That might not be something you want to do. But in terms of the tight ends, I think he'll be able to guard those guys pretty nicely. And then what is he going to be best at? I mean, of course, just being in the right place. And I think just the around the line of scrimmage stuff in particular, and the short to intermediate coverage aspect. Like, I think he's just going to be in the right place at the right time, and he's going to be a guy that you're going to depend on so much when it comes to the run game, because I think they want to be in their nickel package. Like, if you can stop the run consistently in your nickel package, then that's going to go such a long way for you when you have all these teams that are trying to go heavy on personnel and they're trying to grind you out, and then they want to hit some big shots down the field. If you can stay in nickel coverage, I think that's one of the things that Seattle really was successful with last year with Emanwari, is being able to be in nickel, still be strong against the run, and then it's like, okay, and if you want to pass here out of some heavy personnel units, we can stop that run, but also we have enough DBs on the field to where you're not going to be able to take those deep shots on us. So I think him downs in, you know, around the line of scrimmage in the box and being able to stop the run and just being in the right place basically every single time is going to be so huge for the defense.
Let me ask you this. You know, you and I work in the Dallas market, of course, and you and I watch the Dallas Mavericks play, and we watch Cooper Flagg play, the very talented young man from Duke, you know, first year all rookie, all this stuff like that, you know, just an incredible player, incredible talent. We watched Jason Kidd use him as a point guard early in his career. Do you feel like that Christian Parker is going to try some things with him early to see if he can pick him up? Or is it going to be later that we see him put him in some stuff? Or is he going to throw him immediately in like what Jason Kidd did with Cooper Flagg and throw him into the fire right off the jump to see what he can do? Or do you think he's going to kind of pick and choose the battles he wants to put him in?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I would certainly like your thoughts on this as well. I think maybe in training camp, maybe in preseason, you try some things, but I think once you get to week one, I think you are now locked in on, okay, this is definitely what Downs' strengths are, and we are going to set him up for success that way. I just think Christian Parker is that kind of guy with everyone. So in training camp, I would imagine you try some different things. Just that
right.
that's where you can get some of that picture, and you're going to get to see him versus the Rams. You're going to get to see him versus the Saints, and even just every single day versus the Cowboys offense, which is one of the best in the league. Like you can try some stuff there, but I think once you get to week one, Christian Parker is going to be all about, and that's how you gain the trust, I think, of your players, is being like, hey, I'm putting you in the best position for you to succeed. And if I'm doing that with 11 guys, then we all succeed.
I could see him throwing him in the deep end of the pool initially and seeing what, you know, and very reminiscent of what Dan Quinn did with Micah Parsons. If you remember, we were training camp practices and stuff like that, and Dan Quinn was having him, like he was doing some rush stuff, he was doing some cover stuff, he was doing, there was you kind of, the old saying is you load the wagon, just keep loading the wagon, and these players find a way to pull the wagon. And I kind of feel like that Christian Parker is going to find out what he could do very early. And then, because it was a side initially, I thought, well, maybe he's going to kind of walk him through, okay, I don't want to do this, don't want to do that. I have a feeling he's going to throw him in the deep end of the pool and let him swim and see if he can swim. And, there might be some things that are a little bit of a, maybe a little bit of a learning curve problem, or maybe I shouldn't say the learning curve problem. I think I'm trying to think if he has problems, I don't think it's ever going to be mentally. I think he'll understand the assignment, but there might be some physical things, even though we were just talking about here the last few minutes about how he looks, the quickness, the size, the strength, and all that. Maybe there's some things that Christian Parker is going to throw him into coverage wise, and he's going to see, like, is he a grabby guy when he gets in trouble? Is he stay in position when, as the routes developing? I think there's some things that Christian Parker is clearly going to test him on. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's more early than it is late, in that, like, well, he could do this. Okay, let's see if he could do this. Let's see. I think this player is up for the challenge for anything that Christian Parker tries to throw his direction right off the rip.
Yeah, and when you say getting thrown into the deep end of the pool, like, is that something where you're throwing the green dot stuff on him?
No. I'm just talking about, I'm just throwing, hey, can he cover CeeDee Lamb in the slot right now? Can he cover Jake Ferguson on those routes that go up the seam? Can I blitz him? Can I put him at free safety? And can I get in a single high look? And when the play goes vertical, can I see him get over, and make those plays? That's kind of, I'm not even worrying about the green dot stuff and all that. The last thing I worry about this kid is the mentals. That's the last thing. If he's the green dot guy, he's the green dot guy because he has proven he could be the green dot guy. And reputation of him, and even watching him at some of these OTA practices, the communication and stuff like that is not going to be a problem. This is going to be one of the most prepared defensive players that you're going to have on the field. There's no question. There's going to be time where if he's not green dot guy, he is going to question what green dot guy is saying. You know what I'm saying? I do not worry about him one bit on the mental side. The physical side, and I say this in respect, there are going to be some times where he's going to get routed. He's going to get routed, and he's going to lose because of these slot receivers in the National Football League know how to get open. They know how to create space. They know how to run you through traffic. They do a lot of things. It's going to be, if there are breakdowns, and I say breakdowns because football, one side's doing a great job and the other one might be breaking down. We saw a lot of breakdowns with the Dallas Cowboys on defense last year. This kid he'll be fine for the mental side. But how does he handle the situations and Christian Parker will test him, and you'll see it in training camp. If all of a sudden you and I are doing, you, me, and Zach are doing 3 live mics, and you say, oh, good catch by Lamb there, and that was Caleb Downs in coverage there. It kind of shook him loose there. I think those are the things. If Caleb Downs is going to have struggles in certain areas, it's all going to be physical stuff. It's not going to be the mental stuff. And you'll see that very fast. I think Christian Parker is going to put him in situations to test him that way with his how he's able to move, adjust, and make sure that he's playing in coverage and keeping himself in position the right way, or playing along the line of scrimmage, getting off blocks, knifing in there and making plays. We're going to see all that stuff, I think, very early with this guy.
All right, you're listening to the Love of the Star podcast. Love of the Star is an Odyssey podcast. You can find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. We are presented by the On Time Experts, the official AC heating and plumbing partner of the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, and right here on Love of the Star. And all summer long, they've been hooking you up. As a first-time customer, you can schedule a $59 AC tune-up and professional cleaning with the On Time Experts. And the truth is, the dirt, the dust, the debris, those are the number one killers of air conditioners. They clog coils, choke airflow, strain your system, and they lead to costly breakdowns. But the On Time Experts is the only company that actually removes all of that harmful buildup. It's not just a quick once-over, in and out in 30 minutes. They're going to take everything apart. They're going to clean it. They're going to take up to 2 hours. It's totally amazing. And when they give your AC a clean bill of health, they provide you with a no breakdown guarantee. You simply cannot beat that. So please go to the ontimeexperts.com, schedule your $59 tune-up today. That is the ontimeexperts.com. I promise you, you will not regret it. They are top tier in every possible way. They're always in my neighborhood, hooking up some of my neighbors and things like that. But great crew, always respectful. They will come in and you will not regret the fact that you did that. And for $59, it is an absolute no-brainer deal. And you can also get, as a first-time customer, you can get the $99 drain clearing for the ground level of your home. So you can knock two birds, one stone, and it's the best deal going right now. And as the summer gets going, I think we're about to, here in North Texas, Broadus, I think the 100-degree temperatures are about to be setting in, and we're about to just go on a 6 to 8 week run here of 100-degree temperatures. So make sure your AC is rock solid, and the On Time Experts will get you taken care of at the highest level. Okay, so as we look ahead to training camp a little bit, we know the George Pickens factor. He showed up to the mandatory stuff. Looks like he's like, hey, I'm going to be in Oxnard. That seems to be the plan. I was a little bit concerned that maybe there would be one of these last-minute leverage plays when you get to camp where he shows up like Micah did last year. He's there. He's not being fined, but, oh, we have some kind of soft tissue, something. It was the back for Micah last year. Oh, the back's sore, can't practice. He's here, but he's not practicing. Have you gotten any feel for what level of participation we're going to be getting here from George once we get to Oxnard?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of people in the organization yesterday who deal with George directly, and their thought. And listen, this is one of those situations that probably could be fluid, but their thought, their belief is that George Pickens will practice. That's going into, as we sit a month out. Their thought is that George has not given them any indication that he won't practice. So I think once that we officially start, once the camp officially opens, I think that George Pickens, very important year for him. And I think he realizes that. I think talking to people around the league about George Pickens, they absolutely love the talent. They're not so sure about the off-the-field stuff, and I mean that respectfully. I don't mean a guy that's an alcoholic or an abuser of anything like that, a troubled guy. There's just some concerns like, is he a guy that kind of goes to his own beat here? And, they love the player. They love to watch his tape. There were times, and we talked about this yesterday on the G-Bag Nation, and I think Cowboy Nation out there also realizes this. There was times where George Pickens was better than CeeDee Lamb last year. That's, and we all love CeeDee Lamb, but there were times where George Pickens showed up in a big, big way. And George Pickens not really having a huge arsenal when it comes to route trees and things like that. George Pickens wins because he's able to separate by just his body type, his movement. He's not a great route runner. We've talked about that. But there's people that will still be willing to look at George Pickens if, in fact, that you don't hear anything about him missing curfew, or you don't hear about him being late to meetings or missing meetings or anything like that. So a very important year for him. He needs to get in camp, needs to get on to a good start. And the indications from a couple of people I talked to in the organization who, like I said, who work with him daily, feel that he is going to be a participant in camp.
Okay, that's fantastic news for sure. Can't wait to see him out there. Can't wait to see how Clayton Adams tries to, add to sort of his plate a little bit on what they ask him to do. And it seems like Clayton Adams is pretty hell bent on trying to get him to maybe move around a little bit more. Put him on different sides because could he work out of the slot a little bit? I mean, he worked out of the slot a little bit more in Pittsburgh than he did last year with the Cowboys. I wonder if that's something that they can add as just another sort of weapon in the arsenal, where it's not just CeeDee Lamb being the guy that is the versatile chess piece that moves everywhere. And I don't think Pickens will ever get to the Lamb level of dominance where you can move him around and really dominate in the slot. But could that be just another wrinkle into this offense? That'll be one of the things that I'm most excited to see offensively, in terms of how are they taking this thing into another gear? Are they just keeping Pickens as you're the true X and that's what you do? We know where you're going to be on every single play, or can they get him to move around a little bit? That'll be something I'll be looking for.
How comfortable is Pickens going to be? That's the question that we all have to ask ourselves. And I think the Cowboys have to ask themselves that question. How comfortable is George Pickens moving? How comfortable is George Pickens lining up on the right side of the formation? Dak Prescott goes into the snap count, and then all of a sudden George Pickens has to come across the formation, and then there's a different coverage on him. There's a different route he has to run. There's things that he has to kind of think about. The one advantage a guy like CeeDee Lamb has is he's very comfortable playing on the move. That is very clear. CeeDee Lamb, the more you move him, the more comfortable he is playing that way. And because, you have to be very, very quick on your feet as a wide receiver. And listen, it happens on the other side on defensive backs. People go, why do guys not travel? Why do defensive coordinators not travel guys more? Because what happens when a guy goes across the formation, it changes everybody else's coverage. And so a lot of people don't want to have to, take that chance. And so, can Clayton Adams, can Brian Schottenheimer, can they do things to make George Pickens comfortable playing that way? And is it a situation where maybe you don't want him playing all that? They talk about it, and maybe that's their answer for how they're going to get around some of the things that happened to George Pickens last year. But how much do you really want to take CeeDee Lamb out of the slot? That's a question that the Cowboys have to ask themselves, is that if you put George Pickens inside and have him running those routes and playing that position, how does it affect CeeDee Lamb? Does all of a sudden does he have to go to another spot? Ryan Flanoy seems like a very obvious X receiver. So if you're playing 11 personnel, what does that do with CeeDee Lamb? Are you hurting CeeDee Lamb? I think George Pickens has to be comfortable. And I think George Pickens has to show he could be productive out of it in order to take snaps away from CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah. And if I'm George, I'm looking at every single way that I can up my value, not only with the Cowboys but around the league. So if I was George, I'd be in Clayton Adams' ear, like, yeah, man, like, show me all the different ways that you would like to use me, and let me try and get this all figured out, because that could go a long way for him if he can show a little bit more in the way of versatility. And of course, if he's just as productive as he was last year, then it's going to be a great season for him and certainly for the offense. But I do think that is something that Clayton Adams talks about, and I love it about Clayton Adams, because he's one of these guys that clearly is, the self-scouting aspect, I think he takes that very seriously. I'm sure a lot of Clayton Adams' offseason was built on, studying what we did and how we can take it to another level. And then he's also the guy that is very, very cool. And he was open about this last week when he was talking about it to the media. And you see it in real time throughout the season, where they always talk about copycat league. And you see some of these innovators offensively. Is it McVay? Is it Shanahan? Is it Ben Johnson, Mike McDaniel? These guys that all of a sudden they're doing something offensively that you haven't really seen before. And we always wanted the Garretts and the Kellen Moores and the Mike McCarthys to be to be able to steal some of that stuff. And Clayton Adams seems like he's one of those guys that loves to do. I think Andy Reid was one of those guys, right, where he would send his team of coaches out, his offensive staff, hey, go study what everybody's doing out there in the football universe and come back to me with a couple of plays that you like. I feel like Clayton Adams is cut from that same cloth, and you see it where he mentioned, like, yeah, I don't want to be too rigid in what we do, because all of a sudden we could wake up in week 7 and see a team do something against our defense or see something around the league that we want to be able to implement. And so I do love the ever-evolving, the ever-changing nature of Clayton Adams, where he's not just cookie cutter, hey, this is what I do, and here we go. Let's hope we got the best players on the field and we can just outman this other team. He is always trying to push the limit. And so I think he's not gonna stop doing that with George.
Do you feel like that Clayton Adams doesn't get enough credit? I mean, we're sitting there, all we're talking about for the last, say, 5 months has been, Christian Parker. But do you think that Clayton Adams didn't get enough credit for this offense last year?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. When you're not the play caller, you're the offensive coordinator in title, but you see it's shoddy out there with the call sheet, and he's making the calls. I do think that it gets lost a little bit on just the impact that Clayton Adams has. And it's always the new shiny toy, and that's Christian Parker for this offseason. Last offseason, I do think we were singing the praises of excitement and hope for what Clayton Adams was going to bring. But yeah, I do think we need to circle back on some of that and be like, yeah, you know what, Clayton, you met those expectations. We thank you for that. And now let's see if you can raise the bar even more. But yes, I do think Clayton Adams is in the NFL and league circles. I think there's a ton of respect for him. It's Nick Sirianni picking up the phone and calling Shoddy like, yo, can I interview Clayton Adams to be my next OC? Absolutely not. Thanks for the time, though, Nick. I hang up the phone. So it's out there, and everybody knows that in the league. But from like a Cowboys fan base kind of thing, yeah, he might get lost in the sauce a little bit. But his impact, I mean, you really cannot overstate the impact that he has. Being the offensive line guy that he was coming in and being able to tie all of that together, your rushing attack and everything like that. Yeah, he's fantastic. I love that dude. I hope we get to sit down with him in Oxnard. I hope we get that opportunity, because I want to pick his brain a little bit, because the Cowboys are so blessed to have a guy like that, and he's helped Shoddy a ton.
Yeah, we had an opportunity, and I went with the morning show out to the Combine, and that right there, I love, me, I love going to the Combine, Eric. I hope all our shows get to go to the Combine. It's a great place to broadcast from. We had a chance, if you would, go on 105.3 The Fan, and I think you could search back the interviews, maybe on YouTube even, that we had with Christian Parker. That was a fabulous interview. And then we also got to interview Clayton Adams, and he was really, really, really good too. So, the opportunity, these are two really smart guys that I do think you're right about pushing, like, hey, let's not be this. Let's try and be this plus that, so always trying to evolve, always trying to push, always trying to be a little bit better than they were last game. And I don't think Clayton Adams gets nearly enough credit for the offense last year. I think we kind of talk about Schottenheimer. So and I'll be honest though too, there were a couple of games there where I felt like, could have used a little more here. But overall, though, I think you have to be really pleased with what Clayton Adams brought to the offense.
No question. All right, you're listening to the Love of the Star podcast. Love of the Star is an Odyssey podcast. You can find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast, presented by the On Time Experts, the official AC heating and plumbing partner of the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, and right here on Love of the Star. Please take advantage of this fantastic deal before we really get cranked up with the summer temperatures. You can schedule a first-time $59 AC tune-up and professional cleaning with the On Time Experts. They'll take everything apart. They will get it all cleaned out, because it's the dirt, the dust, the debris. Those are the number one killers of air conditioners. They clog the coils, choke the airflow, strain your system, and they lead to extremely costly breakdowns. So get ahead of it and let the on-time experts come in and remove all of that harmful buildup. And they'll take a couple hours. They'll get it all cleaned up. And when they give your AC a clean bill of health, they provide you with a no breakdown guarantee. You simply cannot beat that. So please go to theontimeexperts.com and schedule your $59 AC tune-up today. That is theontimeexperts.com. They will take care of you at the highest level. And you can go to
while Eric does this read, he needs to turn on his microphone.
My apologies there.
Yes.
So it's the $99.
Got excited. You got excited about that read. I noticed that. It was
these mics, man. You're one button away from totally nuking the entire thing. But we love the on-time experts. You will love them too. $59 AC tune-up and a $99 drain clearing for the ground level of your home, and you will be very happy that you did that. Okay, now I do want to send a congratulations to Jake Ferguson tying the knot. You had Will Greer officiating the wedding. You had Brevin Spanford, Dak Prescott as groomsmen at the wedding. He came correct with the ranch fountain that he was so excited about when he was on with us last year. Hopefully we get Ferg back weekly during the season on the G-Bag Nation. But he's a ton of fun. He tied the knot, and salute to him. Congratulations.
Is the ranch fountain your dream? Is that your dream? I know, we just were part of Peyton Russell's wedding. And by the way, it was a lot of fun. Peyton, who is a executive producer of our show here, a lot of fun wedding, really good food, a lot of cool people hanging out. But is the ranch fountain something we need to think about going forward for more weddings?
I do think the ranch fountain's a pretty dang good idea. I mean, I am a ranch guy, and I would put it on, most things. So I don't know. Would that be the one seed of things that I would most want there? I mean, it has to be accompanied by just a legendary chicken wing bar.
Yeah.
Right. And if you got the ranch fountain, I better be inundated with a bunch of chicken wings. And my preference would be the all flat chicken wings. And I'd probably just stand there the whole time. My wife would be over there cutting the cake, and I'd be just munching down on some chicken wings. You know what I'm saying?
I got you covered on that, because I've seen you eat wings. I've seen you eat burgers, both impressive things. I will ask you this, though. This is my Dallas Cowboys question for you for the day. At the media part of the Nobu, what's your favorite part of the Nobu experience? That when we're there in Oxnard, is it the fact that you could ask Stephen Jones point blank a question and then turn and grab like $200 worth of sushi and put it on your plate? What's your favorite experience? Kind of pull the curtain back. So as I've seen you in mid-bite, like Stephen Jones says something and you kind of snap your head around like mid-bite. But what's your favorite thing about the Nobu experience? Again, here we are doing June content. So sorry, folks, you're about to hear what Eric enjoys about the media party more than anything.
Well, it is such a blessing the way the Joneses take care of us when we get out there to Oxnard.
Too. The restroom facilities, the food. I mean, everything about it is great. Yeah,
it's the greatest porta johns of all time. There on the tennis court.
Smell good.
Yeah,
flush well. I mean, you don't feel like you're using a porta john. You really don't.
It's got like hardwood floors and air conditioner inside.
Air conditioner. Yeah.
It's truly amazing. But the Nobu party, like Jerry throws it, just a media party. It's just a thank you to the media members. And so it's
showing up. Yeah.
Unbelievable restaurant that none of us would ever actually could afford to go to if it wasn't for Jerry footing the bill. And it's right there in Malibu. So you get the beautiful scenes. You got the waves crashing onto the rocks, and it's all amazing. But yeah, it's really all about the food there. I love being able to schmooze, rub elbows a little bit. Maybe you bump into Jerry and he's got some things to say about Micah Parsons when they're in negotiations, or you get Stephen Jones lying his balls off to your face about what they are and are not going to do. But it's all about just the biggest table you've ever seen, and it is always just covered in the greatest sushi ever. And also the steak, the little steak that they got on the toothpicks there. You know, I mean, it's just
the Kobe beef.
10 out of 10 experience, and it just never goes away. You could clear the plate off, and the next thing you know, it's just filled right back up. And there you go. I'm picking at it more. I walked out of there as full as I've ever been last year. And then it's top tier bar stuff as well. When we're in Oxnard, we go to the Rudder Room and you're drinking,
Oh,
you're drinking like $2 beers, where all of a sudden you go to the Nobu experience and it's top shelf as much as you want to enjoy. So that is the all-time experience. And I'm always looking at the calendar like, Broadus, can you please touch base with your people and make sure that the media party is going to be taking place when we are out there, because I desperately need that.
I want to just put one final little bow on this, and this is one of our teammates who we absolutely love. But as the driver for everybody going home, I get everybody there and I get everybody back, and I'm going to make sure my guys get back safely. Why did I have to stop and buy a gas station sandwich for Bobby Belt?
Oh my God.
All that food, and we had to stop and buy a. Bobby insisted, "Hey man, can you pull over and get me a sandwich here?" And it was a gas station. We had just had one of the most glorious food item things you could ever have in your life.
It was a feast.
Like, hey. And Bobby goes, "Hey man, can you pull over and get me a gas station sandwich here?"
It actually pissed me off.
I know it did. I know you did. You got out of the car and you're like yelling at him.
Dude, what are you doing right now? You're going in here to get an expired sub sandwich out of the gas station fridge, roast beef. You're insane, Bobby. I think he was wearing a hoodie as well at a very nice restaurant. It was diabolical, dude.
We love Bobby. Absolutely.
He's the best in the business. Okay, I did want to ask you, because we have the NFL. It used to be a bigger deal. I don't think it's much of as much of a big deal as it is, or as it used to be. But the NFL Top 100 is starting to get dropped out, a few players at a time. How many players do you guess? How many Cowboys players would you guess are on this Top 100 list? Could we think about this for a second? You got Dak, Lamb, Pickens, no question. Tyler Smith, no question. You've got Quinnen Williams, no question. You've got Brandon Aubrey. I mean, unless
I was going to say 6. Does that make sense? I was thinking, I wonder, 5 or 6.
How often do you get kickers on that list? Because I mean, Brandon Aubrey being right there at the top of the kicker.
Come on. Chain. Yeah, we're making 69-yard field goals to tie games. Come on. It's like Dallas ran the ball, if you remember, against the Giants. Dallas runs the ball to make it like a 70-yard field goal. They don't even try and throw it. They hand the ball to Williams for like 3 yards.
That was crazy.
And then like Kevin Burkhardt's like, "I think this is going to be about a 70-yard field goal." We're all like, "Oh God, we're about to lose this game." But no, but yeah, I think he definitely. And if he's not on that list. If he's not on that list, then and that list for a while, I will say this: it used to be where the players voted on that list, and the players don't have time to, they were passing their ballots off to other people. They're passing their ballots off to PR guys and stuff. "Hey man, vote for me on this. Would you just vote for me, please?" Kind of a thing. So I don't. Yeah, it's kind of gone by its wayside a little bit. It used to be something kind of a nice thing, and then you started to realize that the players really didn't give a damn about voting for it, and then it became like, well, why are we doing this? But it was great June content. You know what I'm saying? That's what we love. We love the June content. We can get it. Real quick before we get out of here too, the supplemental draft thing. What's your thoughts about that? With Sorsby, and listen, I'm going to say this. I talk to people. We work with Zach Wolchuk, of course, who's our partner here on the Love of the Star, and he is as connected to tech as anybody you'll ever visit with. And I know some people out there too. I think talking to them, they felt sorry for the kid, and they were shocked that the NFL just shut the door on him. They were. The NFL usually doesn't like a fight. They might have picked him a fight with this one. They might. This might be draw the line in the sand. Like, listen, you're not gonna just show up and all of a sudden think you could be in our league with all the things that we're hearing about you. So it's unusual for the NFL to take a stance like this, because they usually don't win in the court of law. but they're drawing the line on this one, Eric. And so, we'll see how it plays out with Kessler and the NFL Players Association, how they saddle up and go after not only NFL, but go after the NCAA as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Kessler, the lawyer there representing Sorsby, he's not a guy that does much losing when it comes to this kind of stuff. He's gone toe to toe with big dogs left and right. He usually comes out victorious, so they're going to try and push for it. I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily. I don't blame the NFL for wanting to make a statement here in a big way when it comes to the number one cardinal sin in all of sports. Not in life, because there's all sorts of other things that players do that becomes more tolerated. But when it comes to the integrity of the game and just the headache that all causes. And I think from the NFL standpoint, it's like, man, this is such a quick turnaround. I know investigations have gone down to see exactly what Sorsby was doing, but I think the NFL would like to, make their own investigation on that and be clear, because the last thing they want to do is have this guy drafted and then it comes out in a couple of months that whatever the gambling he had done in the past was actually even more egregious than what we already know. Or if there's another slip up, like it would just look so bad for the NFL. So this is them just saying, hey, we're not banning you from our league. There could be a blackball situation that comes down, though, if they're going to really fight against the NFL on this. It could actually end up working against Sorsby, big picture, because the NFL, they could all just kind of band together and be like, screw this guy, we're not messing with him at all. But as it stands right now, they're basically just saying, hey, you're going to have to sleep in the bed that you made. And we'll see you in the 2027 draft. Huge bummer for Sorsby for sure. I wonder if he would, if he would like to have it back. Would he just stay at Tech, even though the agent was telling us on the Fan, like, hey, it seemed like Texas Tech was kind of, encouraging him to go to the league as well.
Talking to people in Lubbock, they listen. I believe these folks that I visit with. I'm not saying that they would lie to me on this. I've been lied to before, but I don't think I've lied to now. They felt like a couple of things, that they feel like that Cincinnati leaked information on this kid. There was a little bit of like, okay, you're going to turn your back on us. Well, we're about to expose you. So there was, some of the way the information was put out there while he was at Tech, I think would kind of rub people out in Lubbock the wrong way. And they also were pretty adamant, if they had known all these things about the player, they likely would have not pursued him. And so I know my alma mater, LSU, was in on this one. I think there were a lot of people that didn't know the real background. And this is what's kind of unfortunate about this NIL stuff. When these guys hit the transfer portal, you might not know everything about this player. You might not know the history of this player, but you're so desperate to get his services as a player that you just kind of lose track of things. And I think this is a lesson to all teams that are looking in the portal, is like, especially the high profile ones. If we're about to hand you $5 million, what's your real makeup? What's your real background? What, is it worth us? Is it worth it to us to pursue you because we're trying to get in the college football playoff? Obviously Tech was trying, Tech was feeling like they were a player away at quarterback, and so that's what you got to kind of deal with now. I mean, it's a little bit of buyer beware. And I think the Sorsby case is a very eye-opening one to a lot of colleges around the country. Like, hey, we need to dig in a little deeper on these particular players before we offer them, the millions of dollars we are.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us here on the Love of the Star podcast today, Thursday, June 25th. Thanks for rocking with us. Please like, rate, subscribe, review, send to your friends. We will be here all throughout the rest of the summer, 1 month to Oxnard, California, and we'll be wall to wall with Cowboys coverage there as well. But please keep it locked here on Love of the Star. We thank you. We appreciate you. Broadus, have a fantastic day, my friend. And we'll be back in the coming days with more Cowboys content. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, hands and hug pounds.